What you know about rolling down in the deep? When your brain goes numb, you can call them mental freeze. When they sprinkle that too much, put the shade in slow motion. Yeah, I feel like an astronaut in the ocean. What you know about rolling down in the deep?
Yo, man, it's your boy, Yodi Dog, YODYDAWG at Instagram. Let's go.
Cash in my hand, gotta stack it high. Grinding all day, watch me rise. Hustle hard, that's the only way. Grind, dollars keep rolling, no delay. Stacks on stacks, my pockets deep, chasing dreams while others sleep. No time to waste, I'm on my grind. Since that's the only thing on my mind. Work don't stop, money don't quit. Every move is calculated, perfectly legit. From the bottom, now I'm climbing. My ambition keep on shining. Babies falling like rain, breaking chains, escaping pain. Started with nothing, now I'm paid. My empire's built, getting played. Entrepreneur, self-made king. Watch the cash register sing. No limits, no fear, pure drive. This how winners come alive.
BeatStars.com.
Cash in my hand, stack it high. Grind it all day, watch me rise. Hustle hard, that's the only way. Dollars keep rolling, ain't no delay. Stacks on stacks, pocket deep. Chasing dreams while others sleep. No time to waste, I'm on my grind. Since that's the only thing on my mind. Work don't stop, money don't quit. Every move calculated, perfectly legit. Burning ball, now I'm climbing. My ambition keep on shining. Bitches falling like rain, breaking chains, escaping pain. Started with nothing, now I'm paid. My empire feel I'm getting played. Entrepreneur, self-made king. Watch the cash register sing. No limits, no fear, just pure drive. This how winners come alive.
All right, y'all, what's up? Welcome again, Shafiq Physique Podcast, episode 2. This episode today is going to be called Breaking Chains. Last week we talked a lot about creating a kind of mind and just becoming a better person, building better character. As you know, my name is Shafiq. Once again, we're going to have some really important topics we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about all the stuff that most people really don't want to talk about, but we're going to talk about it anyway. We're going to have a good time while we're doing it. We got some new guests, new faces here today. On my right, I got Cody Maxwell here. On my left, I got my bro, Joel Allen, man, joining us today. All these brothers got a lot going on in their own individual parameter, but they're going to share who they are and go ahead and introduce themselves. So I'm going to let you go first, bro.
All right, I'm Cody Maxwell. Find me at Cody Maxwell on Facebook and Yodi Dog, YODYDAWG on Instagram.
Okay, and Joe?
My name is Joel Allen. You can find me on all platforms. I'm Hans Maximus, HAHNSMAXIMUS. Happy to be here.
Absolutely, man. I'm happy to have you guys here, man. So today, we got really important topics that we want to talk about. Of course, we're going to have that content for you, like we said. That's going to be coming in sometime throughout this video, halfway mark possibly. We did a lot of canvases of the community, man. We talked to some people, and we got to kind of pick their brain and see how they felt about a lot of these issues, right? As y'all know, we like to talk about homelessness. This is a really big issue that's growing in Gwinnett County, all around the country. We like to talk about drug and alcohol abuse. We also like to talk about domestic violence and crime and other things that are going on. We got some other major news that's happened throughout the week in Gwinnett County, in the United States, as well as around the world. Hopefully we're not headed to World War III, but you know, the news gonna pump what they gonna pump, but it seems that way as you watch the news. So we're gonna go ahead and kick this thing off with our questions. We're in the question phase, so we got a couple questions that we want to ask the viewers. So these questions are really for you. But like you said, this is a podcast, so we're going to talk about it amongst ourselves first. So the first question we have here, it says, what negative behaviors have been repeated in your family or community? And how have they affected you or others? Again, what negative behaviors have been repeated in your family or community? And how have they affected you or others? And always remember, the comment section is open for you to give your feedback on these questions. So I'm going to go ahead and go with you first, Cody. How would you like to answer that question? And what's your take on that?
I don't want to get too deep into it, but I would just say probably bipolar around both sides of my family.
Okay.
I'm trying to break the chain now.
So you say bipolar running your family. Now, what behaviors that are negative that has resulted from that bipolar though? Because remember the question is what negative behaviors have been repeated in your family or community, right? I'm saying you got bipolar, but like is bipolar running your family, and is there like a connection? Because we gotta stay in line or stay in tune with the behaviors that result from the disorder or the disease or whatever is going on mentally. There's a behavior that's usually connected. So what negative behaviors have been repeated in your family or community? And how have they been affecting you or others that you might be close to?
It affects me, like, I'm just trying to do my best to just change that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it don't affect nobody else. Like, it don't move over to my son. You know what I'm saying? So I've just been getting the right help that I need in this position that I'm in now.
So you're saying like the bipolar, like kind of give us a little glimpse of what kind of behavior like springs from that you've noticed in the past, where that people have talked about, like associated with the bipolar disorder, like what kind of behaviors?
Like spazzing out, man. Just ugly stuff, man. I don't want to get too deep into it because I don't want to say no name and point no fingers or nothing, but
right.
It's not something that you really want to go through. Like,
now, they have medication and stuff like that for that, right?
Right. So that's something I've been doing to change that. Like, I take my medicine, I make sure I take it every day when I wake up and when I go to sleep.
And it's important that you notice, that you highlight that, because there's nothing wrong with having to take medication, people. God has said in the scriptures that there's not a single disease on this planet that he hasn't given a cure for. And I do believe that. So part of the cure involves medicine. So, at one point I felt like, in society, we created this stigma that if you was on some type of medication, you was just insane and nobody ever crazy. You were just crazy. But just like you take medication for a sickness like the flu, you should take medication. It should be no stigma involved with you taking medication from a mental health problem. Right. So, I do appreciate you sharing that with us. It takes a lot of courage, and it takes honesty, as a man to share these type of things. But remember, it's all about getting this stuff out there so other people can feel comfortable in sharing their issues as well, and so that people can be helped. Joe, what's your take on the question?
For me, in my experience, some of the most negative behaviors that I've seen is this culture that my family had, this cut-off culture, where the communication is cut off, and it's not a lot of working through issues, and that leaves a lot of space for other people. Like, for instance, you got cousins that grow up and the mother and the aunt isn't speaking. So some of the things that this aunt can teach me, or my mother can teach my cousin, we don't get a chance to, matriculate that energy because they're arguing and they got this cutoff culture where they're not speaking. But this person here actually is a teacher. She could help me, in my early stages of development. And my mother was a teacher, Like, let's just say, for instance, my mother and my aunt isn't speaking, and my aunt was the she's very good at sports. You know what I mean? So it's just, this didn't happen, but if it was to happen, she would, you know, not speak to my aunt, and my aunt would not speak to my mother. You know what I mean? And I would neglect the kids from having those moments of development. Now, what did happen in my family a lot was, you know, we used to go to grandma's house and everything. And one thing that really decimated that energy was when my grandmother passed. You know what I mean? So more so of a lack thereof of that centering is what I feel like is really, it's not a behavior, but it's a result. It's like a residual damage that's been done because everybody knew how to behave at grandma's house, at granny house, Annie's house. And those people are, they moved on and nobody took a hold of the mantle and said, all right, now we're gonna go to my house every Sunday and eat it, or we're gonna go do family reunions. And now I think it's more of I'm doing it like this type energy. But before it was like everybody was like, look, right. You know, we wore hand-me-down clothes and everything, and it wasn't even laughed at. But now it's like culture has turned to a point where there's so much dissension between families, and I think a lot of that is that lack of communication, like that cutoff culture. Like, I ain't calling them, mama, they dead to me. How can somebody be dead to you if they still alive? You know what I mean? And like I feel like we always one conversation away from hashing things out. Right. But the thing is, to get to that conversation is very hard, seem like these days. And then social media well, I'm not gonna say social media because I hate to say that, but there's a side of, on social media there's a spectrum. It's just like anything else, you know. And on the extreme end of this spectrum is these energies that's perpetuating the dissension of families, the cutoff culture. They got this thing now, they say, oh, I'm going no contact from my mom and stuff like that. And it's weird, you know what I mean? Because like, I'm not gonna sit up here and forget everything that's happened in my life, but I'm not gonna hold on to it. Like, you can do crimes in the statute of limitation that come and you can't even be charged for it no more. Right. So how can I hold somebody so accountable past my adult years? I'm 40 now and I'm still talking about what you
still holding that grudge.
You know what I mean? It's like, if you can't learn to let that go and start communicating, even if it's just to say, hey man, you really messed me up when you did that.
Right.
You know?
And a lot of times, that's exactly what it is the other family member or the friend or whatever, they feel as though maybe you don't seem to really understand how it affected them. Right. And instead of there just being a transparency and just having a heart-to-heart, they'll just, isolate or, they'll just make assumptions in their mind. Yeah. And then they'll just run off of those assumptions.
Talk back to the kids about the other person, and they grow up with these misplaced, feelings.
Right. And one of the things I do want to also highlight is, I talked about it a lot in the first episode. This physique word is not just talking about fitness and working out. There is a metaphorical aspect to the word. And that metaphorical aspect is one of the reasons of why this podcast was created. It's because in the metaphorical sense, when you talk about the physique of something, and you talk about it in a figurative sense, right? I mentioned this before. You're talking about comparing something to something else with sounding like a metaphor where you're not talking about the thing at the same time. So if I say, this woman's physique is as beautiful as a work of art, I'm saying this woman's body or this woman, image is so beautiful, it's almost like a painting, like a beautiful painting. That ain't got nothing to do with working out, right? If I say this building the physique of this building has strong structure, I'm saying the build of this building is so strong and solid. So when you talk about this word physique in a metaphorical sense, we're talking about building character. We're talking about building people up from where we've come from all this, ignorance that we hold and we act and we treat each other based off this stuff. So there's a whole other dilemma of looking at the word physique. That's what we're trying to build here. Just build better people. So that's why we're having this conversation to talk about these things. So the next question that we want to pose to the viewers as well as to our guests today is, what are some steps that you can take to recognize harmful habits and stop and interrupt them before they go on to the next generation? What are some steps that you can take to recognize harmful habits and put a stop to them and interrupt them before they make it to the next generation? Because the reality is the kids are going to watch you and they're going to imitate and emulate everything that you do. Whether you want that to happen or not, that's what they're going to do. You know what I'm saying? So back to you, Cody. We're going to go ahead and pose the question to you. What steps can you take to recognize harmful habits that you have? That you got kids, I'm sure, right? Mm-hmm. You got kids. How many kids you got?
I got one.
You got one. What, son, daughter?
Son.
Okay. So you got a son, and now I'm sure your son probably looks just like you.
Yeah, my son.
And he's going to grow up to imitate and emulate the things that you do. So what are some of the harmful habits that you may have? That what are some steps that you can take to recognize those habits, and then put a stop to them and interrupt them before they can pass on to your son?
Well, I would say just talk it out, like, you know what I'm saying? Show him that this is not the route you want to go. Like, get it off your chest. So when he does run into it, he already know, like, okay, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, because Dad told me this is how this and that happened. You know what I'm saying? Just get it off your chest, breaking the chain. So definitely trying to break the chain.
Okay. So now, as far as like taking steps to recognize the habit that you have that can pass on to your son, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just you mentioned like just talking, having one-on-one, or having a heart-to-heart. Is that kind of like what you mean? Like, as far as like the steps that you can take, like basically letting him know, okay, do as I say, not as I do, that type of thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I done heard that saying before growing up. And as much as I would have loved to listen to my parents or listen to the people that watched me, looked over me, it was hard for you not to look and see what they're doing and find yourself emulating.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I do feel like we got to take much more steps beyond just those type of kind of like cliche statements and really put a serious effort into making sure our kids aren't imitating us and doing some of the crazy whack stuff that we, grew up doing. Joe, what do you think about that?
Well, I think it's all about checking and balancing the way you live yourself, or the way we live ourselves, should I say. So if you see habits that have bad results and negative connotations to the outcomes of these habits, we just look at the results. So you check the results and you say to yourself, okay, I don't like the fact, let's just use money for example. I don't like the fact that every time I get my check, the money's gone, and you don't want to pass this down to your child. So you find, you educate yourself. You say, okay, nowadays it's so easy as to ask on an AI app, hey man, how can I, schedule my finances to a point where I'm not spending all of my money and I have something left on my check, and can you give me a step-by-step plan in order to make sure that this doesn't happen? And it's just that easy these days. So I feel like it's like about results. When I was in federal prison, I did some time in federal prison. I took a program, and one of the things that they harped on was these things that they call RSAs. It was a rational self-analysis, So you find out what your activating event of a situation is, so we can take the money. Activating event is I got my check and I realize I'm dead broke. I have to spend everything. Now, what is your beliefs? What are your beliefs in the action that you took? First of all, what's your beliefs? What? There had to be a negative belief in order for you to come to this conclusion. So my belief was, I can spend this money beforehand, and then when my check come out, I'll be straight. Right. Now, where did you see you went wrong on that? Well, when I got my check, I wasn't straight. You know what I mean? Right. So now, what do I do? And it's such a simple, it's like math, it's such a simple equation. Okay, what I didn't need, stop buying it until I have surplus to get it. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's what any other action. You can pick and plug any situation. You take it and you rationally break down where you become, where were you wrong in your thinking, and you look at your, and it's just like math. If you can't see what the plus and the minus is, if you go down, if you're looking for the equation, if you can't see it in the top of the equation, you can see it in the bottom. Sometimes 1 plus 1 is 2, but it's not clicking. So you got to say what's 2 minus 1? It's 1. Right. We still all us the same information. Those are the same 3 numbers. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. It's the same 3 numbers. So you may not be able to see it at this part of the equation, but you can see it from the other part of the equation. But you just want to try to get to the point where your results are what you're looking for. The outcome is what you're looking for. And that's when you change that. And your child never get to see the check not being there. He get allowance. Right. He get, surplus. We get to go to the store instead of, man, I ain't got no money for that. And that also creates energy. You know what I mean? And the kid always want to try to, I'm not saying always because that's absolute, but most kids try to, take that next step from their parents. They want to grab that baton, they want to take it home. So if I'm giving, and I'm showing you, we can make it a little bit, okay, Dad, you made it a little bit, how about we make it a little bit more?
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. And that's basically what will happen.
And that's what everybody should be striving for. Those of you out there that have kids, you definitely don't want your kids to underachieve whatever you've accomplished. The goal is you want them to do greater things than what you have done.
That's the definition of evolution.
Absolutely. So it should be a gradual increase. And I'm speaking right now a lot to black men. You know what I'm saying? Let's just be real here, okay? We got to do better as a collective unit, as men. Obviously, you want to focus on what you need to do individually, but we got to do better collectively as black men because at the end of the day, when it comes to Planned Parenthood, when it comes to just being responsible financially, right? When it comes to, keeping certain things out of the view of our kids, we have a serious issue, statistically, over a long period of time of, planning out our kids and planning out parenthood, right? Making sure that we're bringing kids into this world, when we're in the best situation possible. There's people that do this. This is actually a thing. And then when we don't do that, instead of picking up from the error, because we don't want to call out any of our kids a mistake, right? Instead of picking up from the slip or the failure to plan it, and just following through and doing what we're supposed to do, then we continue with the slack, right? Now we fighting with our baby mom, we doing all this extra drama and all this other stuff, letting our kids see it. And then when it comes to the pockets, when it comes to the financially, in order for us to do what we're supposed to do, we got to get put on child support. We got to break that cycle because we are so much better than that as a people. We strong, right? We the kings of the earth. We got to be able to recognize that, understand that, and live to our fullest potential. So the next question I want to ask is, what has inspired you? Who or what has inspired you to break free of destructive cycles? And how can you continue to use that inspiration to stay motivated? Who or what has inspired you to break free from destructive cycles? And how can you use that inspiration to continue to stay motivated? Cody?
I would say probably my father. He was there for me. So, he wasn't always there, but the times he made me believe that I could be a good father. So I always had it in my mind, I wanted to be a father like that. And I want to do better. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt. So, and what kind of destructive cycles you feel like maybe you at one point you were doing and, him inspiring you in the ways that he did, and now you no longer kind of doing that?
Just living with him. When I lived with him, it was the best time of my life. I was homecoming king. I played every sport, basketball, football, and ran track.
So were you doing things you wasn't supposed to be doing as far as that was considered destructive
before
you was living with him?
Nah, I ain't gonna lie, I used to smoke weed, but I don't know. I just young adult.
And so when you was living with him, you wasn't doing none of that. Well, you still kind of was.
I was still doing it.
Okay. Well, you know,
but I mean, he would be cool about it. He was like, man, look, just if you're gonna do it, be around the house. You know what I'm saying? Don't go nowhere. Be all over the place doing it. You know what I'm saying? And like, it was the times when he wasn't there that made me like, dang, I really want to be there for my son. You know what I'm saying? So.
Well, at the end of the day, you know, every question is not going to be carbon copy and perfect cutout with an answer. You take what you get from it and you keep it moving.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I do appreciate the input. Joe, you got anything to take on that?
Yeah, to me, it's two things. I got twofold answers. First of all, prison inspired me to break those habits and stop doing some stuff because I missed out on so much. You know what I mean? And I got so much influence on so many people that, you know, it's not just me that missed the street. Because at that point, I could lay down and do a bid. It wasn't nothing. One thing we know, I'm gonna be all right. You know, ain't gonna be no problems with me as far as me maintaining myself in there in any kind of way. And I really excel in any atmosphere, any environment I'm in. However, my light wasn't shining anywhere other than inside of what they call a social cesspool inside of a prison. You know what I mean? And I know I don't take nothing for granted. So the influence that I've had on the people inside of there and the influence that I've received from the people inside of there, more so, you know, helped shape me to be the person that I am today. And I've helped shape some people's lives as well. But another thing what I see now that is more important than anything that is helping, that's inspiring me to shape these habits and destructive behaviors is social media. I'm gonna go back to social media again. That extreme part of the spectrum of social media. I listen to a lot of that stuff and it made me really, really perturbed at the stigma that's placed on so many different category of people. The black man, the black woman is what I'm gonna harp on. They got us like as if we inside of this fight that we're not in. You know what I mean? And it's like, you could look at, I always tell people this when they talk about all the numbers and they say such and such percent of these people and this amount of people. If you go back to the Family Feud and you listen to what they say before they ask the question, they say, we asked 100 married men, blah, they squad, they blah. That means that those answers are directly extracted from those 100 men, not married men, not black men, no, that specific 100, and there's billions of people on this earth. So, and I'm gonna give you another example. Oh, they say this and they say that. How many times have you seen the U.S. Census walk up and down the street and nobody participate?
Right. They could care less.
They could care less. So the numbers are always going to be turned to whatever, you know what I mean? Now, the dynamic in and of itself exists. All of those negative things that they're talking about, they exist. They exist on a serious scale. But we will never, ever be able to say exactly how many or what percentage of black men.
No, you can never be completely accurate with that.
You know what I mean? But you can know that this stuff is happening. Right. So, what happens is people say, "Oh man, that's the fucked up. That's a messed up statistic and blah, let's go on whatever." However, you're missing the point. We're not talking about if it fits you, fix it. But it may not fit you. Still help fix it if you see it. That's just like so many rappers. They'll tell you, well, I didn't shoot them up, bang bang. Well, I ain't sell dope, but I saw it. Okay, I never was a deadbeat dad. I never, not been there for my kids, but I saw it. I hung out with dudes who did. You know what I mean? So it's not about the statistics. So and my point is, when you use statistics and you use those numbers like that, it allows a lot of people, not just the person who's doing it, Also, the person who's next to the person who's doing it, who can say, hey man, I don't do that. I go home every night and my wife and I take it, but your friend don't.
Right.
And I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying, if you present it in a different way, maybe he'll say, damn, bro, you see, I go home every day and I be with my people and, you know, why you be tripping? You know what I mean? And we can hold each other more accountable instead of, man, you just like them dudes they talking about on social media, because social media come out with the gun. And the same thing with the women. Oh, why you picking bad? Why you this and that? Why you doing? Nobody knows in the beginning of the honeymoon stages of a relationship that this person just now got a couple dollars off of a scam.
Right. They gonna always show you the best version of themselves.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So now you're looking at the woman and you saying to yourself, oh, you should have never picked this dude. You know what I mean? Or you're looking at the dude and you say, oh, you shouldn't have picked this girl, because statistics say that a person who ain't been to college or a person who ain't did this, who ain't did that, instead of us saying, look, man, we both have some issues within our community as people that we all need. It takes, like you say, take a village. So it's not about, oh, the black man is versus the black woman. I think we see too much of that. And oh, black man, black woman. No. Come on. What you grandma used to say when there's two of y'all fighting? Both of y'all wrong.
Right.
Ain't no, oh yeah, you ain't had no business hitting him. Oh, he ain't had no business hitting you. No. Come here.
Right.
I don't care what happened. Right. Ain't no reason for y'all to be in this house fighting. Right. So both of y'all go sit y'all butt down somewhere, and you ain't getting no ice cream, or you ain't getting, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I think society needs to impose that type of energy on, you know, of our society needs to impose that type of energy, and that what gives me the motivation to step away from those things. And if I got homeboys that, you know what I mean, saying got kids or whatever, you know, I don't have kids, but most of my homeboy kids grown. So when I talk to them, I tell them, man, listen, man, because they be like, man, can't tell them nothing grown. Listen, bro, my mother is more mother to me now as an adult than she ever been as a kid. So keep fathering, bro, because you're a father. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna be like, hey man, ain't none of my business. I ain't got no kids.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And we should be able to step in and just give good, genuine advice to people, even if they're not blood related to us or whatever the case is. Because
especially if you know you got that ear.
Right. We're all from one race, which means we all originally have one father. So we all are really related at the end of the day when you really think about it. So thank you, man. That was great. The last question I do want to ask is, how does accountability from faith, a mentor, or a support group help in, you know, changing long-standing bad behaviors? How does accountability, right? As we know, if you follow a faith, it's going to have certain rules and regulations. It's going to pull at your heart in certain ways if you're doing things you're not supposed to be doing. And if you really believe in it and you're following it, it's going to cause you to hold yourself accountable. Also a mentor, obviously, and a support group. So how does accountability coming from these three areas help in changing long-standing behavior? I'll go ahead and start off by saying, me having the faith that I have, the faith that I have in the Creator, and how I apply that to what I believe, as well as the principles that are laid down for me to follow. Obviously, I wasn't doing that when I was in my element, but, you know, taking the time to step outside of that and actually implement what I believe and what it says I should or shouldn't be doing. And then having some sense of guilt if I do violate. Also having a mentor, having a sponsor, doing the 12-step AA concept, and having somebody that I can talk to that can help guide me through it, holding me accountable, you know, as well as a support group going through the Inspire Outreach Program, like I mentioned in the last episode. And I do consider my family and friends my support group as well. You know, them just keeping it real. You know, like, hey, you ain't right now. Right? You out of pocket right there with that one. You out of line with that one. Just being able to have somebody that's going to keep it real with you. All of that has definitely helped as far as keeping me accountable and changing long-standing behavior, because it's like you're walking on eggshells kind of. Every turn you take, when you do something, you're able to reflect and actually think bad about it. When you have nothing to hold you accountable, you just become heartless. You become lawless, heartless, and cold-hearted. So it does definitely help for me in that regard and change the long-standing behavior. Cody, you got anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I was gonna say it definitely helps. I feel changed, like out with the old, in with the new. Like feel better than I ever felt in life because I've been there before. Like, I was in rehab, but I didn't finish. So being in the program, like, it helps me. Like, it's really helping me a lot. Like, I'm clear minded. I can think better because I'm not on drugs or anything. Like, I'm making music that don't got no cussing in it. I feel like every night we do a little devotion, so that's the faith. Like, talk to God more and trying to figure out which moves I should make leaving here. But before I leave, I know I want to have everything together before I even make that move. So, like, I feel like it's changing me into a better man.
That's deep. Joe?
One thing about accountability is it's like the bank. You know what I mean? Your account has the ability to go negative or positive. You know what I mean? So when you have accountability, you know that. So it's like the same thing with your actions and your behaviors. If I put this negative, which means if I do terrible things or bad things or anything that's, frowned upon or unbecoming of the situation, I'm actually operating in the negative. You know what I mean? That's a negative thing. That's like spending money I don't got. So when I do the right thing, that's like a deposit, a positive deposit. So now I get the chance to look at my account on a daily basis because I got a mentor or I got a sponsor holding me accountable. And they showing me, look, your account on the positive, you're doing good.
Right.
You're like, hey man, your account on the negative, man, like you're down bad.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so for me, that's how it's always been. I've always been a rational thinker, and I can honestly say that when I did what I did to get in trouble, I made conscious decisions to do this stuff. You know what I mean? I don't have no excuse. I don't have no blame. You know what I mean? Certain stimuli took place in my life, and my reaction was my reaction. I never was, war with me, this happened, so I had to do this because I got a sister that's extremely successful. I got another sister that took a bumpy road, but she's extremely successful. I'm successful in my own right. I've just, I've strayed off the path, so, but we was in the same house. I made some decisions that was unbehooving of my situation. My sisters made some decisions that was behooving to their situations, and they professional and entrepreneurial. I am too, however, I'm having to, find my way back on that straight and narrow, but we all had the same set of stimuli, and our responses were different. I didn't have to respond the way I did. I had, different courses that I could have took. So now that I see all of that from having the right people, I wasn't always like this. I said I've always been a rational thinker, but I've also been, not too keen on saying, my bad, I did that, until I got with mentors. And for me, it had to be somebody hard. It couldn't be nobody like, oh man, what's up, man? It had to be somebody like, yo, you tripping. Right. Yo, I don't know what you was thinking about when you did that. You know what I mean? And then it makes me say, what was I thinking about when I did that? And before, you never questioned it. You just like, hey man, they gave me such and such amount of years. I'm just doing it. And when I get back out, I know I messed up. I'm gonna do it right.
I'm gonna do it better this
different way.
Right. You hear that a lot.
Right. Until somebody tell you, look, bro, it ain't no better way to do the wrong. There's no right way to do the wrong thing. Yeah. And that's when those sponsors and those mentors come in and they hit you in them spots that you leave vulnerable for them to hit you. Because you're gonna guard, most of them, you're gonna guard your head on all, and you gotta answer for everything when you're young. Man, I don't know what I'm doing, man. I'm getting at that bread, I'm getting at that money. But to what effect? You know what I mean? I remember when I was in that program, that same program, they had to write letters. And my family wrote letters. And that's when I knew that was like a really deciding factor for me to say, okay, it's time for me to get right. Because all of the letters lined up. My mother, my sister, and her daughter. That's 3 different generations of people who wrote the same exact thing. And none of them were in the same place. And it all boils down to, we hate the fact that he's in there and the world is missing what he has to offer.
Yeah.
They never said, oh, we hate the fact that he in there, he didn't get to come to our parties and he missed graduation or he missed that. They said, no, the world not getting what he has to offer. And that's when I was like, yo, you know what I mean? And that really grabbed hold of me. And I'm like, okay, now it's no more. I'm just like, cause I don't got kids, so that was like my thing, man. I ain't need nobody out there. I ain't no deadbeat. I can just do what I want to do. But no, yes, I do have kids. My sister's kids is my kids. You know, and the kids in the community, they get on the phone, man, we miss you, man. I coach you now. I play games with them, everything. And it's like, oh, and those are also sponsors and mentors and people that'll keep you in check. Right. You know what I mean? You go to jail and you come back out and
now they looking at you like, hey, man.
Then they damn level with you.
Right.
I went to prison one time
Right.
and they was 11.
The respect, not only that, but the respect level becomes level with you.
Like,
because at one point they're looking at you like,
and you've been gone so long now.
they're like,
they got hair under their arms. You know what I mean? They like, what's up? Like, what? Right. So it's like, okay, now it's like, okay. And in order for you to keep that status, you got to be out there. You got to be doing good things.
Put that work in.
You got to put that work in, because what they're going to say is, who are you to tell me anything when all you done did is been messing up?
Yeah. Who are you?
You know you want to tell them something because of what you done seen and what you done learned. Right. So they also, the people that you want to show and teach, they are mentors to you too.
And that's great that you finished that with talking about the kids in the community, because this generational curse, with this generational harmful cycles that we have that we need to break, it's not just about what's going on in the household. It steps outside of the home as well, with all the kids that are looking up to you to see. I know so many times, like, you know, when I was going through whatever I went through legally, I heard a lot of individuals saying, you know, I wanted to be like the dudes, you know, that were selling the drugs on the block. Yeah. They seen all that flashy stuff, and, you know, they wanted that. It's the women around them, the nice clothes, that's what they wanted. Yeah. Those guys weren't sitting them down and telling them, no, this ain't really what you want to be doing, bro. So, obviously, everybody slips. You gotta take a seat, sit down for a little minute. But when you get out of that situation and you've truly learned from your past, you have to use that platform, because you still got some influence. Right. You gotta use that platform to have a good influence on the kids in the community, because of the simple fact that we're here to talk about breaking generational problems that go on to the next generation. It's the next generation that will repeat what we do or will change what we've done so that we can be better as a collective unit. Now, moving on. Anything else?
Yeah, I'm glad you said, I'm glad you phrased the term that you just used, because that's been bothering me for a while. And anybody see my podcast, they're going to see, I'm speaking on that. There is no such thing as generational curse. Right. This gives the connotation of the boogeyman or witchcraft that has been placed on a generation. No, there are residual effects that have taken the whole of the lives of people in the under generations. Right. Because and it doesn't have to be. And
the important thing is that there's a reason why I kind of changed my wording from the curse to issues, right? Right. Because when somebody thinks that it's a curse, you get the idea that you can't do anything.
You have no say so in the matter.
Because somebody put a curse on you,
you're stuck.
It's not your fault.
Yeah.
It's something they did to you.
You can buy into that.
Right.
Oh man, I'm under the generational curse that happened. No, you're not. Right. No, you're not. Right. There's been some decisions that's been made, and the residual of the effect is affecting your life. However, the residual effects of the decision is having an effect on your life. However,
yeah, it seemed like that just came around with my generation too, because they would say we was a gift and a curse. There's always been something about a curse. And you like, dang, bro, why you putting all this, like you said, witchcraft and stuff on it? Yeah,
they don't understand the power of the manifestation of words.
Words, right? Yeah. Words.
There's power in the tongue.
Yeah, man, the tongue is very powerful.
That's something that I promise, man, that I've been preaching. Let's don't use the wrong word to explain what we're trying to explain. Because you can have a conversation with somebody and they will miss everything you said, but that
one thing that they can jump on.
You know what I mean? Right. And it'll be like, whoa, you didn't hear nothing That's it. Right. Because you use maybe not the best choice of word selection.
Exactly. So I'm glad you did touch on that. It was something we definitely did not want to keep moving forward without pointing out and mentioning. That was really good. So right now we're going to go ahead and transition into the next phase of our podcast. We're going to be checking out some of the content that we've created over the week. We did have a chance to canvass the areas and speak to some people about some issues that were going on. Let's take a look at some of the stuff that we have.
Daniela? Okay, Daniela. And where in Gwinnett County do you live? In Logan? Okay. So I just want to ask you, have you or any one of your loved ones ever been homeless? No? Okay. So you don't know anyone that's been homeless? Okay. So what would you say if you could give any advice to the state, or the county, or the government, or what they could do to better change the situation of homelessness in Gwinnett County? What would you say? It's okay. If you could give any piece of advice on what we could do to help these people. Because there's a lady out here right now that sleeps in the parking lot at night when everybody leaves, and she almost got ran over the other night. And nobody's doing anything. It's just driving by her every day. Nobody's helping her. So it could even be to the other public, you know, the citizens, your co-workers. It doesn't have to be the government. What would you say to somebody to try to help put an end to those types of things? Okay, so one more question, okay? Do you have people in your family that suffer from using drugs and alcohol? No? Do you think legalizing drugs would be a good idea or a bad idea? Do you think making drugs legal would be a good idea or a bad idea? Bad idea? Why? Give me something. Why do you think so? Huh? It really isn't a good thing? Well, I do thank you for your time today, Daniela. I'm going to give you a card. If you ever want to join the show and just give some more ideas, you're more than welcome. If you ever want to donate towards our cause, you can join us on YouTube, on our podcast channel. Speak to Zeke, and we'll have a link. You can submit a donation. Thank you for your time. Okay?
Handle your loved one being homeless?
Well, I try to talk to them, give them pointers, you know, what to do.
You know,
but I've been down and out. I went home.
right. So you was almost on that.
I went to the veteran administration. They put in the resources.
How you doing, sir?
So they do help out with veterans.
The veteran administration,
the
you
most
got your
part.
9 ways.
We were United Ways in Fulton County, right? In downtown Atlanta, they got it everywhere.
The United Way is a metropolitan. I don't know what the counts is for. But you know, they like Boys Club, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. All that money goes into this.
All right, so the next question.
Hold on.
Yeah, I'll wait for that. You can hear the engine.
Big boy. Go ahead.
Do you believe that mental health and substance abuse disorder is under the same umbrella? Yeah. Yeah. Right. I remember there was a time where they didn't believe that was a disease at all, substance abuse, and now it's changed because people are more aware.
The CDC, I think, is back. No,
Okay, if you could do one thing to be kinder to another, what would it be?
It's a good one.
Well, now that's a good one. It depends on that situation.
Every situation is unique. Every situation is unique.
But if you had to choose one,
What are the situations?
that one thing that you could do just to be more kind to somebody else today. If there's one thing that you could do that you're not doing right now.
at this very moment? What would it be?
That's a good question. I think I'm going overboard doing a whole lot of different things. But as far as housing, I can help a person with housing. You know, you used to be a time with Christian. Used to be a time you can invite people into your household. But that's what things are going to do. You know, so I guess the best thing I could do would be refer a person to a resource that would be.
Okay.
Give them the information.
Yeah, and assistance like that.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you participating in the question.
My name's Terry Harris. Lived in Gwinnett County about 30 years.
30 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So, have you ever lost a loved one or ever been homeless?
I'm not quite homeless, close. I've lived, family member actually took me in.
So how did you handle it?
How did I handle it? Just work harder.
Do you believe mental health is a substance abuse disorder, or I mean, do you believe that mental health is a substance abuse? Or
Do you believe that
disorder?
mental health and substance abuse are under the same umbrella?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's substance abuse.
Okay.
And why is that?
You don't necessarily have to have a mental problem if you don't have drugs.
Okay.
Drugs, I don't think, are causing the mental problems.
Right.
Do you believe substance abuse disorder is a mental health issue?
Substance abuse could be a mental health issue, yeah.
Go ahead, Cody.
If you could do one thing kinder to another, what would it be?
Just give a helping hand.
How many people in your family suffer from substance abuse disorder?
Nobody in my family.
Do you think legalizing drugs would be good or a bad idea?
I don't think legalizing drugs are a good idea. I mean, marijuana, that's, that's a natural thing. But drugs, man does things to make drugs.
Right. I understand.
So, sir, if you could give anything to the viewers as a piece of advice, or maybe even to the government or to the state or the county on how we can try to fix the homeless problem in Gwinnett County.
I think our government needs to take better care of our people instead of the people they let in illegally.
Right.
I think that's a lot of the problem is they take better care of them than they do us.
That's true.
That's just my personal view.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time today, sir.
You're quite welcome.
Once again, your name?
Terry?
And do you have any thoughts or idea, feelings about what you think we got going on here? What do you think about what we're doing?
It's a good idea. It needs to be made.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you for your time.
Y'all, it's my boy Jax. I'm an artist from Atlanta, Georgia. I make music. I got an album soon coming out this summer. We just trying to spread positivity. Meeting these guys was amazing today. My experience with them was real quick, random, and I'm glad I did have it. Good group of guys, real humble. Glad I ran into them today.
What's going on, y'all? I go by the name of Mala Jules, an artist from Atlanta. I'm a rapper too as well. I got some new music coming out on the way. Got a whole EP coming out. Stay tuned for that. But I had a good experience today, a very positive one. It was a reminder for myself. Very beautiful experience once again as well. I learned a lot. I feel like when we all come together as black men and we all able to talk to each other and we all able to, spread like wisdom amongst, each other, I feel like it's a very positive thing. I feel like it's very embracing. So this experience that I had was very good, you know what I'm saying? And I appreciate y'all and I appreciate the platform. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Okay, so we're out here in Retreat, Sweetwater Road, over by Pleasant Hill Drive. There's just been news of some tragic situation going on over here. As you can see, we still have the helicopter flying around. Ma'am, you said that they found a young boy here in this area right here?
They found it in the lake over here.
In that lake over there?
In the lake over there, yeah. He jumping in the balcony back to the house.
Yes.
And then he go to the lake.
Okay.
And then that's what happened yesterday, like at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock?
Uh-huh.
Because I can remember in the news outlet they were looking for a 5-year-old boy, right?
Uh-huh.
And he was Hispanic?
No.
He wasn't Hispanic?
No, he's black.
He was black?
Yeah.
Did they have a name on him, do you know?
Yeah, indeed.
Indy?
Yeah. Because I look it out in the morning for a lot of people looking everywhere. And then they say, the police say, calling indeed. Yeah, indeed. So they look around there and they find it on the water.
Wow. So what would you say is a good advice that you can have to try to help prevent these type of situations from ever happening again?
No, I never heard about something like that.
I'm saying if you could give the viewers advice on a better way to make sure this does not happen again to their child, what would you say as for advice to try to prevent this type of stuff?
I don't speak too much English.
That's fine.
That's why I can't understand too much what you say.
So you have kids? Do you have children?
Grandkids.
Yeah. So what do you do to keep your grandkids safe so that doesn't happen to them?
My eyes all the time, okay. You can trust kid anytime.
Right.
And I hear she's good mother.
Yeah.
Very good mother. She take care of her kid for only 1 minute for something.
It just takes 1 minute.
1 minute for something can happen like that.
Okay, so does she have support? Do we know if she has any support from the community, people trying to help her?
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody tried to help.
And do y'all know her? Do y'all know her name? Do you happen to know her name?
No. Okay. No.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to get this information out there. See, maybe we can put some support financially for her. She's in a tough time right now.
She lives over there.
She lives over here in the Reflections Apartments.
Apartment 8.
Okay, so the Reflections Apartments over here on Sweetwater Road. We're hoping that the lady who is the mother of this child that has had this tragic situation, maybe some of the public and viewers can come together to try to see if we can help her, give her some support in this time that she's going through. I do appreciate your time that you've taken to explain this to us.
Right.
You guys have a wonderful day, okay?
All right.
Thank you. So we're going to work our way down here, over here to the corner. We still have some people over here. We're going to see what they have to say. If maybe they have some more information for us. We are here in Gwinnett County, over here by Pleasant Hill Road in the Lawrenceville, Duluth area of the county. Once again, some very tragic information. A 5-year-old young boy has tragically drowned in this lake over here. And, you know, the old adage is, you know, it takes a village to raise a child. So it's important that we all understand that sometimes if you're aware that your neighbor has a child, and you know that the kids play outside a lot, you know, try to help out your neighbor and just try to look out for their kids as well. I mean, coming from some of the communities that I have been raised in, your neighbors look out for each other. Your neighbors look out for other people's kids. And as you can see here, this is the lake right here. If you look really closely further down, you can still kind of see some of the yellow tape. Looks like it might be somebody over there walking. But this is the lake here that they found him in. Unfortunately, young boy snuck out maybe, went out through the balcony and decided he wanted to hop in the water and tragically drowned. And so this is the news that's been going on here today, out here in Gwinnett County. I'm gonna see if I can walk over here and ask these people if they have any further information that they would want to add just to help give us some clarity. So I'm pretty sure you guys can understand my line of work just as much as I understand yours. I just wanted to get a little bit more information. I wasn't really able to get that much from the people in the complex over there. Like I said, we do have a channel where we try to highlight some of the crime that's going on in Gwinnett County, some of the issues related to homelessness, drug abuse, and domestic violence that's on the rise here in Gwinnett County. We just kind of heard about the news late, and we just wanted to figure out what it was all about, and you know, if there was some closure as far as what transpired. I understand they were able to find the boy. He was 5 years old, they said, African American. And did they get a name on it, or is that still
They identified him. Indy Bullet.
Indy Bullet?
Yeah.
Okay. And the mother was out here as well?
We didn't see her.
No?
No.
Okay.
A lot of concerned neighbors, though.
Not a concern neighbors, obviously.
Stopping that matter. That was good.
Well, I do thank you for your time. That's pretty much all I pretty much need. There's nothing really more that we can add to that.
They just found him in the lake.
They just found him in the lake?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sad.
Well, I appreciate your time. I thank you for the information.
Good luck with everything.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
good luck.
You guys have a great day.
Yeah, man. You too.
Well, that's it. That's all we were really able to get. It's really an ongoing investigation. As of now, it seems as though maybe the kid just worked his way, trying to have a fun time playing in the pond, and tragically drowned. There could be foul play later on as more news comes out. But as of right now, the only thing we know is he was found, 5-year-old African-American young boy by the name of Indy Bullet. Wow. Yeah, man. It's pretty tragic, man. That last video is really, really tragic, man. You never want to hear that a 5-year-old child has passed away for any reason, especially drowning like that. That's real tragic. It seems as though the community really kind of was trying to, kind of just support the mother and help in the efforts of looking for him. I can remember actually, because as you know, we are located here on Sweetwater Road in Gwinnett County, Duluth, Lawrenceville area. It happened literally right down the street from where we are right now. I can remember hearing the helicopters swimming around saying, hey, we're looking for a 5-year-old young boy, saying the clothing that he had on and everything, man. One of the things I do want to highlight in that, though, is the kid whose name is Indy Bullock. He's mentioned in the news that we have for the day, the major news that happened in Gwinnett County along with those shooters. The kid was a nonverbal, he had the nonverbal title, kind of associated with autism. And so it's important to understand, man, like, a lot of these mental health issues and a lot of the issues that we deal with as human beings start very early, and we have to be more vigilant when it comes to our children. And not saying,
just like we were saying before, it takes a village.
Right.
You gotta. We can't cast any type of connotation on how it happened or what happened because we don't know, but we do know that we are reacting instead of preventing something. Right. You know what I mean? So the same amount of people that are now reacting to it happening, you know what I mean? It should be, and I'm not saying those people themselves, it should be that kind of concerted effort towards preventing things like that. Like a little kid, like, what you doing? You know what I mean? If he's like that, like the one lady say, 1 minute is too long.
Right.
1 minute. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you 2 minutes away from your mama. Wait, what you got going on? You know what I mean?
Right. Like, what you doing? What you got going on over there? What you doing? And it seems as though people have gotten used to just kind of, if you see a random kid, somebody's kid, you really could care less.
Because we don't know each other.
Right. Because we don't know each other. And that's the problem. You're not from my country. You're not in my race. I don't have nothing to say to you. And it just should not be that way as human beings. Right. We are part of the human race. Right. Also, the other video, when we were in Walmart, it was pretty interesting to highlight how people are actually very eager to have these conversations when you pull up on them in public.
And it's not foreign to them.
No.
A lot of the things that, they've seen it. And secretly, not even secretly so much anymore, but once you give a person a platform to speak, then there we go. And maybe had you not been out there, you know what I mean, saying what you were saying, they would have never probably had those conversations with anybody.
Right. It would have never came up possible. Or nor would they have been searching to go look for it to come up, but it's always on their heart, it's always in their mind. Cody, you got anything you want to take on that? I understand you interviewed personally the Caucasian male that kind of talked about, he said one of the problems that obviously he felt was to fix the homeless problem and the housing problem in America is to stop giving all the jobs and the money to the immigrants. And I did find that, I would like to think that he was probably a Trump supporter, 9 times out of 10, but I do find that interesting, and that was his take on that. What do you think about that, since you were the one that interviewed him?
Yeah, man, it just goes to questions. So that's why we out here asking these important questions. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think, I don't know, I don't want to sound racist, but I think we should help the people that really are from America more. But I don't know.
I mean, I don't think you would be considered racist for saying that when you are a person of color.
Yeah.
But I do think there is this concept of superiority and an inferiority complex to other people that come to this country. Where in all actuality, we all came from another place. From the very beginning of it. When this place was stolen from the native indigenous people.
I think it's fair. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, if you really gonna be serious about it, if it's those guys coming over and they're doing their legal things, whatever you deal with them, but it's space for the people that come here and they honestly want to make a good living and work hard. And they set the standard a lot of times. They set the standard for hard work, you know?
Yeah. Right. I do believe
But
that.
if they with the foolishness, they gotta go.
And you know, you didn't really hear this go back to your country, get the immigrant stuff out until Trump really came into office.
Right.
You didn't hear this rhetoric being pumped like this. So I would like to think that his ideas and his view on that, for his mind to jump immediately to that solution, has been heavily influenced by the Trump administration. Let's just be real here.
But my question is, who's influencing the Trump administration?
Right.
Because it might be even bigger than that.
It might be even bigger than that.
Because one thing about those guys, they're going to cater to somebody that's helping to push their narrative for their, you know, own reasons.
Right.
So who's behind the obvious person? Right. You know what I mean? Trump's very obvious in what he's doing. It's got to be some other entity that's got him out there. Because the guy on the front street, you already know, he's definitely not the entity that's, you know, at the end of the day, the ultimate, you know, entity. And that's what I try to seek out.
Right.
You know,
because he's just the face.
Exactly.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And so what I do want to give as far as the last take on those videos and a lot of the content that we did talk about, obviously we highlighted the importance of talking about the homelessness issue, which is growing in Gwinnett County and in the country. We talked about drug and alcohol abuse. And we also talked about, you know, what you would do to just be more kind today than you were yesterday. What's one thing that you could do, you know what I'm saying? So I do want to, you know, just influence and try to motivate and push the viewers to take those questions seriously, apply them to yourself, right? If you see a homeless person, instead of just walking by, just driving by, take the time maybe today or tomorrow and just help that person in some way.
Even conversation might help.
Even conversation might help. If you suffer from drug and alcohol abuse, go and get help. There is a lot of help out there. There's a lot of treatment centers. Go and get the help. The help is there. And if you know somebody that needs the help, go and try to push to intervene. I don't care if you got to do an intervention. You might be saving somebody's life. If you have issues in your life and maybe you're projecting some negative energy towards people out there, do something today or tomorrow to be more kind to somebody than you were yesterday. And I personally do not believe legalizing drugs is a good idea at all. So I don't think that is something that we want to touch on, really. You guys have anything you want to take on that? Are they legalizing the drugs issue?
No comment.
But it is a question we put out there, right? Because this is the crazy rhetoric that you hear.
I'm not going to say no comment. I'm going to say that's a conversation for another day.
Okay. We'll go with that, right? Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and move into the last segment of our video. And we're going to just talk about some important news that has been transpiring throughout the week in Gwinnett County, in the United States, as well as around the world. For some people that don't like to watch the news, we like to talk about it maybe in a more humorous way, highlight some positive things as well if possible, instead of just pumping that negativity too much. But we do want to reiterate part of that news for this week is that tragic incident of Indy Bullitt passing away in the drowning. We do send our condolences out to the family. And hopefully that if you guys have any questions or maybe you want to find a way to reach out, his name is Indy Bullitt. You can find your way to reaching out to the mother, see if we can give her support. I'm sure there's a GoFundMe page or something like that that has been set up possibly to help her out. What's some other news that's been going on in Gwinnett County, Cody?
Okay, got Jeffrey Gibson.
Jeffrey Gibson.
He was killed in a shooting not too far from here.
Okay. So Jeffrey Gibson was killed in a shooting at Dillon's Sports Bar here in Gwinnett County. Very tragic as well. So there's a lot of drama, a lot of violence going on in Gwinnett County. This is not limited to Atlanta, Fulton County, or DeKalb. It's going down in Gwinnett. The crime is rising. We need to be more aware. This goes back to the generational stuff of some of the signs that we see from our kids, the music that they're listening to. You know, they'll show you the signs that are leading them towards being in the streets and carrying guns and harming other people. And who else you said?
Xavier Tyler Stevens.
And he was also tragically shot?
Yes.
Okay. So we got 2 shootings that occurred over here in the last few days in Gwinnett County. Look into that on the news. It's Jeffrey Gibson and Xavier Tyler. What's the last name you said? Stevens. Okay. And in the country, in the United States, what's some news that we have?
Famous rapper Young Scooter.
Okay.
Was shot.
So obviously this is a news that I'm pretty sure has been circulated very frequently and vast all throughout the net. Young Scooter was, they say, killed. Some people say killed himself trying to run from the police. There's a lot of conspiracy and speculation around that. You guys got any take on the Young Scooter story?
It's just crazy and it's weird. I mean, what a way to go. You know what I mean? And I mean, you don't know, what happened or how it happened, but on your birthday to go like that in a controversial way.
I met him in person. It just still don't even feel real.
I don't wish that on nobody.
Yeah, me either. And I never personally heard of somebody dying in a way where they had a break or fracture or something like that in their leg.
Weird.
And bled out. That was very interesting. I do like to think there's going to be more that's going to be coming out of that.
Definitely.
Also, just to kind of close out here, we do have some other news with the Trump tariffs. You guys are obviously aware of that. There's going to be some serious implications on the economy. Tariffs do not just affect the other country that you put them on, they affect the economy that you currently reside in. We already have a serious problem with the taxes and as well as the inflation on eggs and things like that, which is a universal product that we all use for cooking, baking, all those type of things. So look forward to those things coming up even more in price. Those of you Trump supporters out there, I'm not saying I'm against Trump. I'm not for or against. I'm a little indifferent. But don't be surprised to see the effect that these tariffs have on us.
Prices will go up.
And very exponential.
So it's important to use those coupons and all of that stuff too.
Yeah. Get your coupons ready.
Because you're going to need them.
And also in the world, we have Iran's president fires his deputy for a lavish trip. As you guys know, Iran is having a lot of tension with the United States right now. A lot of World War III talks of missiles and bombs and even nuclear weapons. They're not playing any games right now. It seems as though they don't want anybody around them that is taking this time as if it's a joke. You guys have anything you want to say on the Iran situation?
Good luck to everybody. We want to get the best case scenario.
Stay tuned. Those of you that think this is not an issue you need to be concerned about, just understand that you may not want anything to do with the government and politics, but the government and politics wants everything to do with you.
Think about your family that's in the military.
Right. There's a lot going on. They're stationing troops now. They're moving ships. They're moving B-2 bombers to this island called Diego Garcia, which is in proximity to be able to strike Iran and Yemen more easily. There's a lot going on. We need to stay tuned. Also, South Korea has impeached their president. He's removed them from office. South Korea, which is a very huge ally of the United States right now, especially with their tensions with North Korea as well. There's going to be some interesting things to come out of that story as well, with their president being impeached. The new person coming in might have some different agendas and policies that they might not necessarily agree 100% with the United States. And lastly, Pope Francis makes a surprise public appearance at St. Peter's Square. So Pope Francis, usually in hiding, whatever they want to call it, he made a surprise appearance. For those of you that are of the Christian faith, Catholics, it's something you might want to look into and see how that turned out.
Some good content on it.
I think next week we might maybe touch on the Pope concept. Get a little bit more into religion. Maybe I do have a lot of interesting things I want to say about the whole concept of religion and the Pope and how that all came about. But we'll save that for the next week. We do thank y'all for joining in with us today again. Once again, Shafiq Physique Podcast. We have our guests today, Cody Maxwell, Joel Allen. Once again, check them out on their YouTubes, on their Facebook, and their social media handles. What's yours again, brother?
Hans Maximus on all platforms.
Hans Maximus on all platforms. And Cody?
YDYDAWG.
IG. Also, you can check him out regularly on Facebook with his name, Cody Maxwell. As you know, you can check me out on YouTube on this channel right here. I'm going to have the rest of that content being posted for all y'all to be able to watch those videos again separately if you would like to. As well as my TikTok, Shafiq Physique, Shafiq_Physique, just like on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Peace. Defeat destructive cycles. Connect with neighbors. Stop negative energy. Reunite with family. Forgiveness is happiness. Teach the next generation. Break the chains.